Hello again. This is Pissi Myles here again covering the election of 2020 in Scranton, Pennsylvania with the Scranton Fringe Festival. I'm very excited because today I am being joined for a little interview by a local filmmaker and friend of the Fringe. His name is Mark Dennebaum. Hello, Mark.
Hi, dear. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
You're a Scranton native,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Born and raised?
Born and raised. I grew up in actually right around where Joe Biden would live, and our governor at the time in the 80s was Bob Casey, and I grew up about a block away from Governor Casey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then my family moved to West Side for 2 years, which is Scranton, and now they live in Clark Summit, and then I moved to Florida, and then I moved to LA, and now I'm back here.
Florida and LA. My goodness,
Yes.
You're so coastal.
I am, but I really didn't learn much.
To be fair, neither did I.
No, it was nice, but it was nice. I think every kid who gets out of college should actually get out of their little social bubble and go see the world and experience things that they've never experienced to give them perspective.
I advocate for that all the time. When I graduated college, I graduated with a degree in musical theater, and look how far it got me.
This is great.
Is it?
Yeah. You're here with us. This is awesome. If you never did that, I would never sit with you.
I'm thrilled. Good. I'm thrilled with my life choices to an extent.
Me neither.
And when I graduated, I said to myself, I've lived in the New York area for my entire life. I'm going to move to Chicago. I don't know why I picked Chicago, but I decided I'm going to move to Chicago. I love the cold.
Really?
I love the cold. Everyone's outside in parkas right now, and I'm out there looking like this with.
Well, you're making us freezing.
Everyone,
like looking at you, I'm like, she's freezing.
I'm cozy. I ordered a Frappuccino.
Extra ice.
Extra ice. Trying to get the outside to match my insides. So I never ended up moving because right before I had kind of started making plans, I met my now husband, and we ended up settling where we did, and that ended up being right outside
So I'm
New York.
doing math. You graduated 2010 somewhere? Do you like me more now?
I don't know.
Well, if you said you met your husband, we had that conversation.
We did have a conversation.
So when did you
I
graduate?
graduated in 2000. Well, it should have been 2010, but it was 2011.
That's right, so you're a doctor.
Exactly. I'm Dr. Pissi Myles. That is exactly what I put on my resume.
That should be a TV show, MD.
Dr. Pissi. She's like Doogie Howser.
Yes, absolutely.
Except she's an adult who acts like a child.
I'd love it. Wouldn't you watch that?
I'd produce it.
That's what I'm talking about. If you did that, I would totally watch it.
I don't know if I'd watch it, but I'd definitely star in it. I
can't see myself.
How did you end up in Scranton?
My parents had sex, and then I...
My goodness, this is a candid interview. Tell us about that.
I wasn't there, but I heard about it.
Secondhand details.
It was right around 2010, and I was living in LA, and I really was like, man, I'm a needle in a stack of needles, and nothing feels like home. So I moved back here and either foolishly or smartly started my business.
And that is?
So it's 25/8 Productions, and which was, and then I got sober. So I got sober before I named it. So that was dumb.
It's always more fun to name things when you're inebriated.
I'm looking back and I'm like, oh, that was just so dumb. Are you allowed to curse? Is that a?
I don't know. Are we allowed to curse? Sure, why not?
I mean, minus the big ones.
Yeah, I would say let's try to.
Let's stay away from the George Carlin ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing George Carlin.
Yeah, so I got sober in 2010, started my business, and I kind of look at it as, if this makes any sense, is that my entire 20s was spent being an asshole, but there was no real growth as a human being. So I kind of look at, so I'm 40, I just turned 40 this year, but I kind of look at it like I'm 30, because I didn't have any growth, my intellectual or my emotional intelligence is not where it should be. So now I feel like I'm a spry. Well, I'm not spry anymore, but I'm
a spry-ish.
Yeah, now I'm like get out of bed and I'm like, oh, my back. Yeah, but I'm still 30, so I feel like I was in a bad car accident.
I'm in the vicinity.
Do you empathize with that?
I'm in the vicinity of what you're talking about in terms of age. I just turned 17, and so.
We should not be I'm not allowed in a room with you.
I know. It shouldn't be 16. It should be 50.
Yeah.
So I have had.
Thank
that
God you're not on a schoolyard.
I'm not allowed.
I'm just kidding.
pulled my hip flexor. This is more information.
What's a hip flexor?
It's a muscle in your groin, which is something I never thought I normally save my groin talk for my after work. But today, I guess this is where it's going. I pulled a hip flexor getting out of bed. Like,
no.
It was not, this is not a challenging activity. I'm not Michael Phelps. I'm not Adam Rippon of Scranton fame. But aging sucks. It's terrible.
It's terrible.
But I will say, I don't think that your experience, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I don't think your experience is unique, because I had a very similar experience where in my I didn't really know what I was doing. And I made a lot of effort to try a lot of different things, and eventually found what I should have been doing the whole time. As a creative person, because you're a filmmaker.
Try to be, yeah.
Well, I try to be a creative person as well. Like I said, I got a degree in musical theater, and I thought that was what I was supposed to be doing, and learned much later that I have skills as a stand-up comedian. I have skills as a host. I have skills as an entertainer beyond what would be just a musical theater actor. And I've taken all of those skills and kind of funneled them into a new career that I realize now I should have been doing all the time. And that is a good segue into where I'd like to go next, because this is, in fact, a political discussion and not the Pissi Myles live spoken memoirs.
Is something happening today?
So, there's some weird thing that's happening downtown. Apparently, Joe Biden is here.
Didn't see him.
Yeah, me neither, believe me. I feel like I would have known.
Yeah.
As a creative person, I feel like there are expectations for what we're going to take into consideration in the voting booth. How has being a creative person shaped the issues that have affected you most in this election cycle?
I've always been involved in politics, as far as like being interested in them.
Mm-hmm.
I remember even Michael Dukakis running for president. I remember the tank when I was a kid. He did a photo op in a tank. I remember all that. I think what it does, I think being creative and I highly recommend it to everyone, is to break out of your mold and experience new things. And I think that's where that comes from. I think creativity allows you to see a point of view in life that you wouldn't normally have if you were a laborer or, putting gas lines in or something like that. I think everybody should be creative outside of, their 9-to-5 job or in their 9-to-5 job, because it allows you to look at issues, personalities, certain sects of the culture, SCCT.
Yeah, I was with you.
in a way that instead of being ignorant to it, it can give you an opportunity to have empathy. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you have empathy, it allows you to be a better human being. And I think without creativity, you can't have empathy to the degree that it's important. And so every election is important. I don't know if you know this, but politics in Northeast Pennsylvania is a big deal. Every May, every November, there's always a primary, always a general, and it gets crazy.
I'd noticed when I was walking down the street looking like this.
Yeah, come back in a year, it's going to still be crazy, and it's not presidential year. So yeah, I think it's very important. But also, so then it comes to like business. So if you're in business, you have to kind of find a way to find a balance between having success, which is, I can pay my bills this month, mm-hmm. and empathy, and it gets really gray, and it's not as black and white as we would like it to be.
I think that's a fair point. I think it's very hard to find the balance of your morals or ethics and also just what you need to survive. And I think that's probably a pretty common struggle that a lot of people are having in this election cycle.
I think no matter what your political affiliation is, I think a lot of people are experiencing that.
Especially in the midst of the pandemic. Everyone is kind of struggling to make ends meet these days, and we're all trying to figure out how to navigate this really uncertain, unprecedented, at least in most of our lifetimes, road. What issues would you say have been most important to you as a voter in this election?
I hate to say the pandemic, but that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say the economy, but that's one of them. In my conversations with a lot of people, Northeast PA is a really interesting place where, like my grandfather and my father were hardcore Republicans. I was a liberal, and now I kind of find myself not pegged all the way to the left or all the way to the right. I'm like here right now.
You're in the middle of the rainbow.
Yeah, and I think that I think that the thing that a lot of people miss is I think that that's where a lot of people really are. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they have to get on this railroad track or that railroad track. I think that they have to find a place where like the spurs hit together, and that's what makes sense, because I don't think it's healthy as a culture or a society to have these two polar opposite viewpoints. And then you have to choose between those two. Mm-hmm. I think it's really dangerous to the republic that that's where we're at. And I think it's incumbent upon us as citizens. We elect these officials to represent us, and a lot of the times they don't represent us; they represent themselves.
Mm-hmm. Or their lobbyists.
But that's from a lot of people are like Trump, Biden, and I'm like, you really got to pay attention to the local elections. You have to pay attention to the people who represent you, because they're the ones who end up actually screwing you. And it's not, as a figurehead or an identity piece or something that's supposed to be emblematic of what our country stands for. In some respects, I think the seat of the president holds too much power in terms of like, oh, this represents us as a country. I don't think that that's what it's just so, I hope that we're all trying to realize that it's a lot more complicated than we thought it was. Instead of single issue things, I think it's a lot more complicated than we realized. And my hope is that tomorrow, if nobody fires a shot on either side, like I was saying before, it's incumbent upon all of us as citizens of this planet, of this country, of this universe. It's our responsibility to be nice to each other and try to understand each other. Mm-hmm. The politicians are never going to do it, because they have to say certain things and do certain things that make sure that they get reelected. Whereas you and I can sit and have a conversation and be in complete agreement about everything or disagree about everything, but I can respect you, you can respect me. I don't hate you at the end of the conversation. You don't hate me at the end of the conversation. If it wasn't COVID,
well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
We're not gonna. I will not.
I'll let you know what I think at the end.
No, that's okay.
I'm teasing you.
but I think that's, that was something that happened maybe around like April or May of this year, where I'm like, all of this stuff is just theater. It's insane, and the fact that we as citizens are willingly participating in some of the insane theater of it, I think we're losing the plot. And
even to kind of address that for a second, I have thoughts like that all the time. Sometimes something will happen, and I don't want to. I don't want to detract from it. I don't want to minimize it, because I don't know. But I'll look at something like Donald Trump refusing to say that he would relinquish power if he lost the election. And knowing what I know about Donald Trump, and what we all know, I think, about Donald Trump, there's a part of me that sits there and goes, it feels like theater. It feels like he's saying this because it will get the biggest rise out of people, rather than exactly. Yeah. And I don't know that he would actually do that. I'm not saying it's impossible, and I'm not saying that I know anything more than anyone else does. But there's a part of me that says, well, is he saying that because it's real, or is he saying it because it's what gets the biggest rise out of his base or out of the people who oppose him? It makes
Democrats and Republicans alike both go, did you hear what he said?
Exactly.
It's the same.
And he knows how to get that from people.
And if you look back at his history, it's the same thing as like Howard Stern. It's like, in the 80s, why the average Howard Stern fan would listen for an hour. Why? Because I want to hear what he says next. The average Howard Stern hater would listen for 90 minutes. Why? Because I want to hear what he says next. That's what it is. And we've gone, I was saying this to somebody the other day, I said, it's really sad that we got rid of daytime soaps. Like we got rid of, As the World Turns, General Hospital, all those things. And now that somehow has been cannibalized by CNN, MSNBC, Fox. And that's our new theater. That's our new, at the hair salon or at the barber shop or what. That's the things that we're going to talk about.
I would argue that Shonda Rhimes has soap operas alive and well.
But she's prime time.
She is prime time. And I love Shonda as much as anybody else.
She just went to Netflix, right? She left ABC. I think she left ABC.
You probably know better than I do.
I'm a total nerd. It's terrible.
But I love Grey's Anatomy as much as any homosexual. But I will say Shonda Rhimes, like, you can't look at me and tell me that Grey's Anatomy is not a soap opera.
But it's prime time.
It is
We're
prime
not doing
time,
it at 10, 11, 12 a.m.
That's true. I'll give you that.
And I think that's where we missed it. Like, those things need to be there to distract us from the crazy lives that we all live. Like,
well, having a 24-hour news cycle, I think
it's brutal.
It's brutal. It keeps people on the edge of their seats too much.
Oh, did you see The Social Dilemma yet? I
did. And it made me like throw my phone.
I don't know how everyone's just like, no. I think that's what when news gets their news from social media, that's not news. It's just an extension of entertainment.
And when anyone can participate, when anyone can participate in contributing to the news, I say as I'm broadcasting.
Yeah, I just read an article where it's like this Twitter user, and I'm like, they have like 12 followers, and they're getting an article, and it's just clickbait. Like, why are we doing that?
It's very interesting because in a lot of ways, I like it because it's almost a reinforcement of the First Amendment. I like the idea that people have a voice, and in a way that we have not in the past. But we have to try to find a way to navigate it now, because not all of the information you're getting is verified or is trustworthy, and you have to find a way to filter what you need versus what you want.
The scary thing about what you don't know is true is that, like, we were talking before about no matter what political ideology you fall in, you still don't know what to believe. That's a frightening concept when we question the nature of reality, no matter where we sit.
And it goes back to what I was saying before about, I can read an article about Donald Trump saying something, and I can say, well, is this the theater? Is this? And it's a very, it's a difficult place to be in an election here.
Wait, look. We are a country that is enamored with likes and clicks, and if you look at Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that stuff, it's about who liked my photo, who shared my thing, who did this, who did that, and then we're surprised when the guy who capitalized on all of that ends up winning an election.
I know.
You know what I mean? So it's like we have to hold some responsibility for that. Also, at the same time, though, political ideologies are what they are, and they're now the thing that are like cementing people and how they feel. My concern is that if America is a home, half of us aren't talking to the other half.
I know, and we do have to find a way to kind of unify. And this is a question, I think, that may bring some unity. This is my last question for you.
Okay.
It's a softball.
Oh, come on.
I know. Well, listen, I've got big hands. I almost said something that would not have been half appropriate.
And when the cameras are off, you can tell. Yeah.
This is a question I've asked everyone all day. Is it a hoagie? Is it a sub? Is it a hero?
I think it's a hoagie.
I was trying to give you a question that would unify.
But you're asking me to make three separate choices.
My God, Mark, I tried my best.
Well, what is it? What do you call it?
It's a sub.
No, it's a hoagie.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna listen.
Around here we order hot wing hoagies.
And that is offensive.
Well, is it steak and cheese or is it cheesesteak?
I'm not going down this road with you. Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a real pleasure to get to chat with you and to teach you a little bit about what to call your sandwiches. Please, are you on social media? Can people find you?
Yeah. Oh, shit.
258?
Yeah, there's 258 Studios. Then there's Marky D2, because I'm a Star Wars fan.
Marky D2.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, get out there and vote. And then tomorrow, make sure that the people you hate, you hug.
Exactly. Take it from Mark. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And that's it for my interview with Mark Dennebaum. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you all later.